Welcome to Archangel Revelations and Prophecies 444. I am Gat, your host. The gentleman requested a natal chart analysis, a birth natal chart analysis. So that's what we will be doing. Now, as you know, right away, you see he's going to have some Libra, Virgo situations going on. Because his ascendant and his EP just made it in Virgo, but really is coming out that 12th house with Virgo. So, and he's got good fortune. So this is going to be an interesting read. I'll be right back. Okay, so the first thing you got to understand is he's going to have a lot of Virgo, even though he's a Libra. And we're going to explain the houses, but we have to explain the signs first. But I will look at part of fortune in the first house. Now, if you notice his ascendant, the ascendant is your rising sign, which for him it will be Libra, but it's still going to have a lot of Virgo in that. The ascendant is where the sun was going over the horizon at the time of his birth. And the east point is where the sun was going over the ecliptic at the time of his birth. I'm just checking a couple of things out, so bear with me. All right. Give me a moment. All right. All right, we want to look at it's called part of fortune, but they also call it good fortune. And this even says part of fortune in the ascendant. So that's interesting. All right, give me a moment because we have to look at that as well. So part of fortune in the first house. You were born just after new moon. So what that means is you got all 0 degrees in the first house and 1 degrees in part of fortune. So you experience a lot of new beginnings. Now what happens though, that means you might be going from one ending to another beginning and one ending to another beginning. That could be a good thing, but it could also not be a good thing. So we're going to talk more about that. You have a strong individual way of meeting life's situations. If he places himself and his unique achievements out where they will be seen, he should have great success and happiness. This is a person who wants to stand out in his own way. He has a charm and human magnetism of the sign on the ascendant. But see, here's the big problem. Libra. See, Libra is 2. Partnership, couple, agreements, contracts, legal matters, open enemies. And I think Libra rules the 7th house, which may deal with cemeteries. But this is your first house, which is supposed to be I am. So you're kind of conflicted because your ascendant and your east point and the good fortune or part of fortune is saying, hey, I'm an individual. I want to do things an individual way. But your ascendant and your first house is also saying, hey, I need to be with somebody. Plus, this is your first house, which is I am. So somebody being with you is going to have problems. Because if they want a we are, which is what Libra should represent in the 7th house, relationships, you're kind of giving them the I am. It's kind of like the person wants to be married, but they never want to be there with the marriage or with the family. Maybe because they're doing something else or they're working. But it gets difficult. Because how can I have a relationship if you're always into I am? When it should be about we are. It should be about us, not I am. So you got to really, really deal with that. Because see, if I do part of fortune in Libra, it's not really going to give you a good answer. See, part of fortune in the first house just told you this person wants to make their own way. They want to stand out. And it basically says if they do, they'll be blessed by the universe. But even if you're in a partnership, your partner may not like you making moves by yourself. Like in legal matters, since you are talking about Libra, and Libra is legal matters as well. That's why some people have to say, okay, what is part of our partnership? You have to have your own separate agreement. Because you may want to do things on your own. And your partner might say, hey, wait a minute. I should get a percentage of that. So you have to make it perfectly clear. Okay, our contract, our agreement only stands with this. Like you might be a rapper rapping in the group. But then you want to go solo. And some people in the group might feel like, hey, wait a minute. Well, we get a piece of that cut. Because you're benefiting off the rap name, the group name. So you got to say, wait a minute, this is my solo project. Don't got nothing to do with y'all. This is my money. So all that stuff got to be contracted. And what this man has got to learn, if he hasn't learned it, is you got to know how to separate between your Libra partnership, togetherness, relationship, and that individuality that is so big on your chart. Also, with new moons, new beginnings, that means you're always going from start to finish, and people don't like that because people want you to follow through. They don't want you to say, oh, you know, well, this came up. Oh, I changed my mind. Because that can get confusing. So when partnerships, relationships, love interests, and Libra can also be social matters. You want to make sure that your people fully understand what's going on. That you have to protect, and I even say legally, you have to legally protect your individualism that you want in your first house through the part of fortune and Aries, because Aries rules the first house. You have to protect that because your first house is supposed to be about togetherness, partnerships, relationship, ruling over the 7th house. So you're definitely going to be conflicted in that area. You're going to be conflicted in your first house and in your 7th house. And because it's so close to the 12th house with those 0 degrees, you're probably conflicted there too. All right. But now I'm going to look over this. I'm going to read it. This is part of fortune in the first house. But we already did part. We went part of fortune in Libra. Part of fortune is Libra, is one of beauty, balance, fairness, and justice. And I don't agree with that because of what I said. Part of fortune in 0 degrees, or part of fortune in the first house, it's not going to be about balance or justice. Because the moment you start going, hey, I got to put myself out there. Like I said, it's kind of like you're in a group and you always want a solo. And they say, you know what, Bob? You know, almost every song we write, you want a solo. It can't be about you all the time, Bob. So when part of fortune is in the first house, that's kind of like it is. Bob is trying to highlight himself. Bob is trying to show the world his individualism, his style, his class, or whatever. So because part of fortune is in the first house, it overrides part of fortune in Libra. Now, there may be sometimes when he's fair and balanced and we. But most of the time, this guy is going to be saying, I. And we'll see it throughout the chart. I already know that. But some people say, oh, no, I'm not like that at all. But it's on your chart. And I go through this with people sometimes. Because I had one woman swear up and down that she didn't have marital problems. But I could see it all on her chart. And after going back and forth with her, she finally admitted, okay, we were separated for a while, but we got back together. Okay, well, I already said you had problems. So if it's on the chart, it's pretty much, not always, but it pretty much is too. Especially when you're dealing with the first house coming off the 12th, you can already tell it's going to be some issues there with him wanting to push himself ahead when it's supposed to be some type of relationship or partnership. So make sure you understand the law so you don't get sued. Make sure you understand relationships, fairness, because you want to make sure if you're going solo that you're legally protected, that your group can't tell you. You can't go solo because that's part of the group and everybody knows your name from the group. So that little project you're working on, we want a percentage of it. You got to make sure you're protected. No, you ain't getting no percentage because I got paperwork. I got the law and this is my project. Don't have nothing to do with you. I might be in your group, but I'm Big Bob by myself. So I might be in your group as Big Bob, but I'm also Big Bob by myself. And this is a Big Bob solo project. And I don't owe y'all nothing. And I got paperwork, this contract, right here to prove it. And that way when you're more clearer with people, they understand. Okay, baby, I love you, but I need some Bob time. So you know, a couple of times out of whatever, out the month or whatever I do, I need some Bob time. And you got to make sure you're communicating it so that they understand it. So that you won't have problems with people thinking, well, I'm in a relationship with Bob, but Bob is never around. Bob is always doing Bob stuff, and Bob don't care nothing about me, his house, his family, or his kids. So that's the big challenge in that first house. Probably you're going to see a little of it in the 12th house as well. So this guy could be very confusing because he has Libra energy. So he may really pursue a partnership, or he may really pursue a relationship, or he may really pursue something coming out of Libra or the 7th house. But then all of a sudden, he turns his attention to something solo. So that could be very confusing. So again, when we really do mature, we learn to think, how is this going to affect other people? Because I try to be that way. Because it's easy to say, hey, this is what I want. But when you're dealing with other people, you also have to consider them too. And it gets sad. I just dropped a couple of sad videos on my other channel. One is loading right now. But sometimes you have to say no. Like the rapper Jay-Z only made one love song. He only published one love song in his whole rap career. And the name of that song is Soon You'll Understand by Jay-Z. And this is where he's telling his friend's sister that I know you want us to be together, but I can't do that. And soon you'll understand. Because Jay-Z knew what he wanted in life. And that female wanted a man that's going to be with her and all that. And Jay-Z was like, oh no, I'm nowhere near that in my life right now. So I can't be with you, but soon you'll understand. So he was man enough to realize, oh no, what she's looking for and what I am is two different things. So he was man enough to tell her, nah. Because you don't want somebody thinking it's we, when you're going me. So that's the first house, and we'll look at it again in the 7th house. Because Libra rules the 7th house. Now, the 12th house is all about endings, reckoning, hidden things, things that are in the subconscious mind, things that are hidden under the carpet, things you don't want other people to know about. It's about karma. It's about reckoning. Now, ironically, his sun sign and moon sign is Leo. So he was born shortly after or shortly around a new moon. And that's his 11th house of friends, association, and groups. Now, his Mercury is in the 11th house, but again, it's so close to 12th house. And remember, Mercury rules Virgo and Gemini. So definitely some communication stuff going on there. Now, he's going to like to serve because Virgo rules the 6th house. That's about service, health, healing, home, small children, small animals. And the 12th house is about animals too. But this could even be a person who's kind of like patriotic or really all about the home. But now Vesta is a priestess. And Vesta works with Virgo. Because Virgo is kind of like the Mother Mary. So this could be somewhat of a spiritual person. And they do care about service, or helping other people. And see, the 12th house can be about health. I think when you see Virgo in the 12th house, this may be a person that has a favorable connection with health, the health professionals or health insurance. But the 12th house would be telling him to be service-minded, to really help other people. But you have to be careful because the 12th house is also about martyrdom and sacrifice. So you never want to help some people so much that you sacrifice yourself. And see, where Vesta is, that's where you'll burn out if you're not careful. So even though you're supposed to be a servant in the 12th house, you still got to know when to tell people no so that they don't burn you out. Because you may even be an infat. And that's the person that takes on everybody else's emotions and energy and ends up burning himself out. Now, the 12th house is about isolation. So he may end up feeling alone in a home. Or even if there's people in a home, for some reason he may still feel alone. And I got a feeling he may have good communication because Mercury is so close to his 12th house. And Mercury rules Virgo. See, I kind of think he will talk about family. And he will talk about, husband, wife stuff and stuff like that. But that other side of him that wants to shine is going to cause a lot of problems. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to shine, but you got to learn how to communicate. Like I was watching Tony Robbins, that counselor. And he had a guy that loved to play music in a rock and roll band. But he was never home. So his wife was like, if you don't start staying home, I'm going to leave you. And he still was like, I'm not going to stay home. So he had to talk to Tony. And Tony had to teach him how to compromise. Because see, that's Libra as well. Because even when he did come home, he still ain't want to do nothing with the kid. That's why the wife was so mad. Because she was like, I let you tour the world. And I'm taking care of these kids and all this stuff, raising these kids by myself. And you come home and you still don't even do nothing with your own kids. So she had a reason to be mad, and she had a reason to want to leave. So Tony Robbins told him to spend more time with her when you come home. You've already been on the road. You already had your fun. You love rock and roll music. But when you come home, now it's time to give her some time and get the kids some time. So he started doing that, and then she didn't want to leave him no more. So that's called the art of compromise. Because I want to tell anybody, because I know a lot of people may listen to me, but do you hear me? Do you really listen to me? It's not about you. It's not about me. You're on a world full of people. So that's how I live my life. It's not about, I stay in that servant mode, but I don't let people run over top of me. Wherever I go, I'm usually in some form of customer service or dealing with people, but I don't let people run over me. And like I said, I lost a lot of money because of that. But I respect you, but you'll respect me. And I'll try to help you best I can, but nobody runs over me. And also, we need a measure of reality. Because the reason why people's lives are kind of messed up, sometimes they don't even realize it because you're in a fantasy world. You've got to adapt to reality. So now we really have to know about Lilith. So Vesta is the home priestess. And your 12th house is ruled by Pisces. So like I said, this is the spirituality, because Pisces is like spirituality, inspiration. So this is going to be a very spiritual person. And Vesta is like a priestess. So he might even serve in some type of capacity, in that priestly capacity. And some people like Jehovah's Witnesses, they call themselves ministers. They say, I'm a ministerial servant. But I know they teach that even if you're just a Jehovah's Witness, you're still considered a minister. Like if a police officer rode up on you, you could say, I'm a minister of Jehovah's Witnesses. And he'll kind of treat you like if you were a reverend or a deacon or something like that. So you don't have to have the title to be in that position. Because that's what you're seeing over here in this 12th house. So the first thing you want is Lilith in the 12th house. But it's going to take me a minute to find it. So bear with me. All right, y'all should hear. Y'all might not hear the knock. I don't know. But somebody's supposed to be dropping something off. So, all right. So I'm gonna be looking at all this right now. We're looking at Lilith. We really want Lilith in the 12th house first. All right, give me one moment. All right, they say if you got Lilith in your 12th house, you got to really dive deep in. That's what they're saying. And I'll definitely find out some more information. But basically, remember, this is the home. So it's the home, but see, your home could also be like the country as well, because it's the sixth house is service and home. It could be your literal home, either the home you were born into or your own home after you leave the house you were born into. But Lilith is implying it could be painful, but we just need more information. So he may suck. They said if you have a Lilith in the 12th house, you're going to be secretive and you suffer from martyrdom. What does that mean? It means you love, and I used to do the same shit. You love somebody, you love something more than yourself, or you just give too much. And that's why if you're listening, if you're on my other channel, I'm dealing with all that right now. Because I can't do that no more. For my own well-being, I can't do that no more. See, that's one of the reasons why I'm at where I'm at now, because in my earlier life, I should have been thinking more about Capricornian stuff. But I was more like Leo, wanting to love everybody and help everybody and all that shit. But then, like I said, motherfuckers don't do the same for you. So you gotta know what to do and what not to do. And Capricorn is in the 10th house with Saturn. Saturn rules Capricorn. That's the boss. So sometimes you gotta learn how to boss up. And that's what's going on with you. Because you got the new moon, you got the sun and the moon in Leo. But we definitely gonna do your chart. But when you boss up, it doesn't mean you're mean. It doesn't mean that. It just means that you ain't gonna allow yourself to be played out either. And people gotta know that. And it was taking years, because I kept saying years ago, you know, I need to start going back to not all of my Leo, but I need to start going back to some of my Leo. Because what happened, I was so much of a Leo, you know, and then I was trying to be spiritual. So I was trying my best. I really believed back then, you know, be spiritual and just go. But now I realize, just like everybody said, oh, they're coming again, they're coming again. Now, I'm not saying he ain't coming. I'm just saying he ain't coming when we thought. You know what I'm saying? Which means you're going to be on this planet for a minute, so you better learn how to live on this planet. And this planet, if you ain't got your shit together, nigga, it's either sink or swim. Sink or swim. So even if you over somebody's house, you still better have some type of job, and you better find a way to get some type of income coming in. Because you never know when that motherfucker going to get tired of your ass and say, that's it, motherfucker, get the fuck up out of here. So you got to know how to do an interview. Not just go an interview and say, oh, please, sir. I think I do a good job. Please, please. I've been unemployed for 5 months. Please. You got to go in like, yo, I'm qualified here. I'm qualified there. I've been doing this for years. I'm real good at doing that. My people skills. You got to go in. And that's why I said sometimes you shock the motherfuckers. Sometimes just take a chance. Don't just go in acting like, please hire me. Go in saying, I know I'm worth it and I need more than that. You must be out your mind. I'm not working for that. That I was making that 15 years ago. And that motherfucker, he sure is arrogant. And somebody might say that's not arrogance, that's confidence. And he does have references, he does have resume, he does have experience. We'd be a fool to let him go, because he's gonna come in here and do 3 times the work of these other people, 4 times the work of other people. That's why I say. So you gotta, that's called being boss. That's getting your Capricornian on. Seriousness, career minded. Because there was a 1970 song, she said it can't be no love with no finances. So love is only gonna go so far if you can't even take somebody somewhere and buy them like a basic meal at a basic restaurant and shit. Can't even get her a salad or some shit. Broke ass nigga. That's me though. I'm trying not to be a broke ass Negro anymore. I'm tired of being a broke ass Negro. So that's what it is. So if you meet a female, they got to be on that order. Since we are talking about Leo, Libra, and all that. But I just got finished doing the video on all that. Because if you meet a female and she's not on that order, she's going to take you back. And then she ain't going to stay with you anyway. So when you done with her, the money you could have saved off of her, you done spent on her. And then you still ain't got no money. You're still a broke ass Negro. So you got to think more Capricornian. More business minded. And that's how your world will start to change. And if you have anybody, I don't care who it is, Ma Dukes, sisters, whoever it is, anybody trying to talk crap on you, trying to hold you back, everybody got to be put in proper place. And all that means is you already know you don't have to be all around people that only say negative stuff about you. See them sometime, but you don't have to see them all the time. So Lilith in the 12th house is not good. Because in the 12th house, you can't make it about you. That's one thing they tell you about the 12th house. It can't be about you. Like, let's just say if you're a 12th house and you're some type of spiritual teacher. Let's just say you're preaching on a Bible or whatever you're doing, but you're making it about you. So you can't do that in the 12th house. They always tell you that. Now, sometimes you do have to teach as example of what you've been through and why, whatever, why you came to these conclusions or whatever. But you try not to make it like about you. Because Lilith in the 12th house will try to exploit the sympathy of others. So if you have Lilith in the 12th house, you may suffer from subconscious ailments or mental illness. So you have to be careful of that. So if you have Lilith in the 12th house, it didn't even say home. Because that's what I was already thinking. But I wanted the expert to say it. See, this is the home. So this person may have suffered from sexual abuse, other type of abuse, or any type of trauma in this life or a previous life. Because your 12th house also deals with your past life. So the person may deal with sexual inhibition and confusion. And a lot of times, like if you hear me talk, why? Because I've been a victim of all kind of abuses. Verbal, racial, physical. So when you hear me saying stuff, it's not me saying, hey, look, I'm smarter than everybody. Hey, I'm better than everybody. But what you hear me saying is I'm not going down again. Like it's my time. Because my whole life, like I said, I've been on this planet for decades. My whole life has been trying to work with other people, love other people. And I've been fucked over the whole fucking time. So this time we're not playing by those rules no more. So it's not arrogance. It's not that I think I'm better because I wouldn't have gave decades of serving other people. But it does come a time when you have to go for yours. And like I said, you may meet your soulmate at that time, because I did. But she just may not be where you are at that time. Like my twin was nowhere where I was at that time. But you have a right to grow. Because if it was really meant to be, no one could stop it. So this type of person will allow other people to use them, abuse them, and take them down to the lowest basic instinct of humankind. So she has an ability to hypnotize. She has an ability to, because they're saying Lilith, but even though this is a male profile, a male birth chart. So Lilith in the 12th house can hypnotize with sexual and sexual fantasies. Because remember, the 12th house is ruled by Pisces and Neptune. That's fantasies. But she says it's really poison. If this was a mother, she's prone to drug use and insanity. So even if it's not a mother, be very careful because you're still dealing with Pisces and Neptune, which is escapism. Watch out for, and the 12th house is also about drug abuse and stuff like, and alcohol abuse. And she may neglect her children's day-to-day needs. If she's a lover, she's secretive and promiscuous. So again, nobody wants that in a real relationship. If you're Libra, you're saying we. But if you got Lilith in the 12th house, you're saying, well, what they don't know won't hurt them. Then you're going back to I. That's why I told you your 12th house is probably well connected to your first house. So it's a lot of stuff that we have to deal with. And what I'm trying to tell you all of, this is why you get your natal charts. And this is why you know what's going on. Because then you know what to deal with, what to work on. They say this person may have many clandestine affairs. And that's what I was talking in my more recent videos. One is loading right now and the other one. Because on this planet, it's easy to have sex. I mean, people have sex with you don't even like you. Don't like you, don't like the way you look, but they'll still have sex with you. And that's the easiest thing to do in the world. That's why I said when you get to twin flames or soulmates and all that stuff, especially soulmates, because twin flames to me, with twin flames you might meet that person, but then you guys tend to go into separation. So you might again meet and have sex, but then you go into separation. Soulmates a little bit differently. But the soulmate might want more from you, but because the life is the way it is, you still have to be careful. Because what do you want from me? And what are you bringing to the table? And no, I don't want to take you on a date to find out. Because if I take you on a date, that's almost like giving you the impression that we're going to like be going out. Just like if we work together, I don't want to be staring at you because I'm giving you the impression that we're going to be going out. I'm sorry this is the situation we're in, but I've had too much bullshit on this planet, and I don't want to go there again. So I'll go there with somebody who really wants to go there. But if it's just going to be games, then maybe later on in life. Because if you're really on my natal chart, then we will meet, or maybe we'll meet again later in life when people grow up a little bit. But right now, I may not be interested in that because I got other plans. I'm working, making money, don't want to mess it up. My last twin flame situation messed up the job, messed up the money. So I don't want to do that again. I don't want to do it part 2 with a soulmate. So this is how you grow up to an adult. Now they say if this is a mistress in the 12th house, she's kept waiting in a shadowy fog of confusion. And otherwise, the guy's just using her to bang it out, but she's letting it go down. And some people do that because it doesn't have to be a female doing that. It could be a male doing it too. So it's a lot of sexual secrets, sexual frustrations, and possibly a little bit of craziness as well. See, so far on your chart, like you don't want to go, you just don't want, you could, well, for this one you could do it. But they already told you what your 12th house is about because of Lilith in the 12th. So you don't necessarily have to go Lilith and Virgo because that may give you a different definition of what's really going on. Just like your part of fortune, you don't want to go part of fortune in Libra because it's going to make it seem like, oh, this is a couple person and blah, blah, blah. You want part of fortune in the first house. Because that person is saying, nah, this is going to be about me. It's my time to shine. So you got to be able to take both of those and balance them out. And remember, sometimes some of your stuff is talking about your past life and your karma, what you have to deal with. And a lot of that stuff is talking about your present life. And that's why sometimes your natal chart will give you 2 different readings and stuff. Because it's dealing with 2 different lifetimes. One is past life, one is present. And I think that's what yours is doing. All right. So give me a second. I just got to find Lilith and Virgo. So Lilith will express her sexuality in an inhibited way. They keep saying she may suffer from confusion. But it's a he. This is a he profile or natal chart analysis. See, the confusion is because when you're in Pisces or Neptune, it's going to be confusing anyway. It's very watery, very dreamy, very deceptive. That's the confusion. So she's going between the nice girl and the sexual girl, the virgin and the whore. And with Vesta, see, Vesta can be a sexual priestess, but she can also work for Virgo Mary and build up the family. So this person may be associated with a family that has a lot of freaky stuff going on. But usually when you're in a family where stuff like that happens, it's usually because the parents or something, they were also abused or something. So your 12th house is the house of secrets. Well, today it's my job to tell you, bring it out. See, I got a brother-in-law that's a little nutty. I don't know what's going on with him, but he really needs to be talking to a psychologist, and he refuses to go. Now, he's already been in the crazy house, and sometimes I think he's on his way back to it. And see, with me, well, my background will always be biblical. You can say Christian if you want to, but it's really biblical. Spiritual. God comes first. So I kind of understand why we're on this planet, why we're going through this. And from the Bible, God's got to come first in order for you to enter the so-called kingdom, which is the presence of God. Now, if you don't believe that or whatever, well, you go ahead and take your chances. But I can't get caught up with other people's BS because I don't bring people my BS. I've learned how to stand like a man and put my trust in God. And I don't worry about who abused me, who physically abused me. I don't worry. You move on. Because going backwards all the time, and that's what the 12th house does. It make you go backwards because you got to deal with all the dirt and all the stuff that's hidden in your subconscious mind and your past. But sometimes going backwards is not helping you in the present. Sometimes it is if you're getting healing. Otherwise, you're going around, woe is me, or you think you deserve something. So Lilith in the 6th house or in Virgo, she can lure with her words. She may talk dirty, it just depends on where. And she wants to please and serve, but she's also exploitive, which means she's probably manipulative as well. See, when in the 12th house, it's supposed to be about serving other people, not manipulating them, but also not letting those people burn you out. And they say she's a sexual servant, but in a degrading way. And she delights in perversions of all kinds. She corrupts the young. They say there is a connection between Virgo and anal sex. As a mother, she's ultra critical. Now, I know that's true. And remember, Virgo is all about health and hygiene and cleanliness. She may neglect her children's day-to-day needs. She may suffer from health ailments. Or she may be sentenced to nurturing a sick child. In her childhood, her day-to-day needs were neglected. In other words, her parents may have given her some type of nurse or nanny. But a lot of times that's where the sexual abuse occurs. As a lover, she's critical and sharp-tongued. So the 12th house is telling you to bring it all out. Because remember, this is karma. And it's also reckoning. So you got to bring it all out. Be honest. Find out what's going on in your mind, your subconscious mind, your dreams. You got to be honest and bring it all out. And it's also the house of secrecy. But when you're going to a private psychologist, you can go to get the help you need. Because maybe that's one of the reasons why he's saying I. He wants a relationship, but then he's going I. Because he's afraid. And if you listen to my more recent videos, I was basically on the same thing. I would like to trust you. I would love to believe you're different. I would love to believe this is going to work, but I can't based on everything since I've been here. And there's just a freedom in doing that because you stop worrying. But also, you become a better male to the female. Because before you're looking at her and you're kind of feeding into her vanity, and then she begins to put herself on a pedestal. But when you begin to treat her just like anybody else, she comes off that, especially if she's interested in you, she'll come off that pedestal quick. Because now she's like, hey, what happened? Like, let's talk. I thought we were going to hook up. And like I said, if it's meant to be, it'll be. Now, we could go to your 10th house, but I don't want to. We're going to go back around. No, we could have went to your 11th house. I don't want to go there either. We're going to go to your 2nd house, the money house. Now, you have to be very careful. Because whenever you have Scorpio in the 2nd house, that's other people's money. But your 2nd house is supposed to be your money. Taurus rules your 2nd house. So when you see this, what could happen is you may find yourself in legal matters because of other people's money. Because see, other people's money shouldn't be in your 2nd house. That's supposed to be your money. So when you're using other people's money like your money, that means you might be talking to police. And this is all secrets. And you got Pluto and second house is also about value systems. But the truth of the matter is you never want to, money is money, possessions is possessions. But some people worship all of that. So that would mean that their value system was kind of off. So let's look at Pluto and Scorpio first. All right, I'll be back. All right, I want to thank God because I don't know if it was because of the storm or what, but we had a serious plumbing problem, and I was hoping I had to get more serious. So it took a while for it to get resolved, but it did get resolved. So thank you, Lord. So you got to thank God. It's a lot of power in being thankful, being praised. Anybody listening to this video, try to learn Philippians chapter 4, verses 6 to 8. Because it really tells you how to get God's attention. Through praise, thanks, worship, song, thanking God. And then if you're really walking in the spirit, once you give it to God, you can take your mind off of it. And if you need more information, because somebody might say, well, I did that, and it just seemed like nothing changed. Well, then you need to be on the other channel that I be on. It deals with walking in the spirit and stuff like that. I've been doing this a long time, but God never fails. He might not come when you want him to, but he's always there. All right, let me go on now. Okay, we want Pluto. We want Pluto and Scorpio. It's funny, last time I looked it up, same thing. I didn't even have to type the whole thing, and I typed it number 4. Pluto and Scorpio are definitely going to be highly sexual, highly secretive, highly transforming, highly powerful. But again, you got to remember, if you want to be in a relationship, how secretive can you be if you want to be in a relationship? And Pluto and Scorpio is so important that my astrology book did it twice. myastrologybook.com. And it says that Pluto is the ruler of the black people. That's what myastrologybook.com says. Now, give me a moment. So black people may be associated with your finances. Now remember, Scorpio rules your 8th house, so your 8th house is your 2nd house. Scorpio is anything unknown, supernatural, souls, death, birth, resurrection, taxes, IRS, the underworld, creepy crawlies, animals, funerals, cemeteries, death and rebirth, sex, freaky sex, perverted sex. Like some of the most powerful people in the world, they be having like Scorpios and Plutos, like in the second house, and Liliths and all that. I also want to thank Archangel Chamuel. I lost something last night, but I knew Chamuel would bring it back. And he just did. I just found it. Chamuel, he's an archangel you call on whenever you lose something. Give me a moment, y'all. I have a couple of things I got to take as soon as I finish with this cough drop. It's funny how they talking about Uranus. So let me tell you this. They say Uranus breaks down the reality structure of normal consciousness. Because my soulmate is connected with Uranus. So they're telling you Pluto shows up. Now that makes me want to look at my natal chart real quick. Because that's some deep shit, man. Alright, give me a second. What am I looking for? Okay, my natal. Because they're saying, yep, and there's all in the same house. And I got a feeling it's going to be done by the same person. Because my Uranus and my Pluto is in the same house, her house, with the Virgo. Because she's representing that Virgo energy right now. So you got to remember, me and his chart are going to be kind of similar because he's a Leo too. So Uranus's job is to break down the reality structure of normal consciousness. Pluto comes at the end of that breakdown. So we need to look at that just a little bit. What is the reality structure of normal consciousness? And you got to remember, you're going to talk about your consciousness. You're going to be talking about your 12th house again, where your Virgo is. Because my Virgo is in the 4th house. And somehow all this stuff is always going to be connected to the family or the home. Family being the 4th house, ruled by Cancer. Home being the 6th house, ruled by Virgo. So that's why your family might have been dysfunctional, all kind of crazy stuff. There's a reason for everything in this planet. in this third dimensional world. All right, give me a second. Once again, the browsers is acting up. Consciousness creates reality. Some states of consciousness are mystical phenomena that cannot be explained. They're saying a lot of our reality comes from our manifestation within. Now it also takes you into Marses, like a Marsis. Like if somebody said you're a Marxist, like, associated with communism. All right. So I got all this shit going on in my fourth house. And it's like in my fourth house, because my Juno, because Uranus is at 3 degrees, Pallas is at 9 degrees, Pluto is at 10 degrees, and then way over at 29 degrees is Juno. Almost saying you're not going to see any type of serious relationship unless you go through this beat down. Like, yo, I've been getting beat down for a long time. How about a little bit of love for it, bro? All right, so now let's check it out. So Uranus is going to break down your reality structure of normal consciousness. So where's your Uranus at? See, your Uranus is in your fourth house too, it look like. Let me make sure. It's actually, it's your third house, but the way your chart is, it's still playing with you. Because a lot of your stuff's like on the border or close to it. But it is the third house, but it kind of could almost been the fourth house. So Pluto is the outermost planet of our solar system. Pluto is the end of the process of breaking down the reality structure of normal consciousness begun by Uranus. So this was going on in your third house by Uranus retrograde. Pluto supplies the energy for evolutionary process whereby outmoded or dysfunctional entities are transformed through death and rebirth into new ones higher on the evolutionary path. And that's why if you hear me talking, that's what I say. I'm no longer third dimension. I'm way higher. And I use terms like I'm not going to be messing around with lower vibrational frequencies. Sometimes I do have to use the N word because that's really what that is, self-destructive, low vibrational frequencies. This outmoded entity is often a part of our ego in which we are identified and without which we feel we cannot live. If we resist Pluto here instead of surrendering to the necessary ego death and personal transformation, mental illness or even breakdown can occur. So I need you to listen up because they say where you see Pluto, and yeah, because you know it's in your money spot. So it's kind of implying that you might even have money issues. But I don't want to say which way because it's not Pluto retrograde. Pluto retrograde means something's going to be taken from you. But your Pluto in your second house is not retrograde. But either way, it is a transformation that's going to try to get you to go through some type of death and then a rebirth. And if you don't go through it, you may suffer illnesses or mental illnesses. Remember, Virgo and Scorpio are all about illnesses and healing and stuff like that. So to avoid a breakdown, whatever transformations coming your way, and it's going to be in the second house. And the second house is shared resources. It could be shared resource. I mean, the 8th house with Scorpio, but it's in your second house. It's shared resources or other people's money. So it might be some situation there to test you, but they're telling you to submit to avoid having a nervous breakdown or something like that. Pluto causes the disintegration of psychological blocks, obscuring our evolutionary growth. Its energy comes from the core of all things and is the most intense and potent there is. Atomic, nuclear, sexual, Kundalini. If we allow the fear of the death of some part of ourselves to block its process, the result can be catastrophic. So that's interesting. So in your horoscope, Pluto symbolizes death, rebirth, sex, degeneration, regeneration, the fabulous and elusive phoenix bird, And Pluto symbolizes the breakdown of psychological blocks that prevent evolutionary growth. It is funny. Yesterday, I climbed up on this high ladder, which when I first started working that job, I wouldn't do it because I had heart trouble and stuff. So I had a lot of pains on my side, and to climb up that ladder and try to reach, because you gotta reach and pull on this heavy ass box and carry that shit back down the ladder, or however you get it down that ladder. That shit, I like, oh hell no, I can't do that and shit. So yesterday was the first time I did it and did it successfully, and my soulmate was underneath. She is at the ladder looking up. But y'all have to understand that was synchronicity, because she don't even work back there, and technically she shouldn't even been back there. And not only should she been back there, she was back there once. And I went down a different aisle, so we didn't have to bump into each other. And then I came back down the aisle to help, get the chair or get that box down. And then she came back for some reason, and she's actually, while I'm on top of it, she's standing at the bottom of it. It's kind of crazy. Because, that's what she's trying to do, help me get up this evolutionary ladder. It's just funny how the world don't play. And plus, when I was walking around, we sell a lot of folders. So there's always a folder that says, trust the journey. I always see that folder and shit. It's usually right after I saw her or something. So that's some crazy shit. Pluto is the higher octave of Mars, representing the conscious self-knowledge and self-mastery of the magician and alchemist, standing above. See what I'm saying? Standing above, just like I was. And informing the brute force and physical powers of Mars. So Pluto's trying to cause a transformation. And ironically, my Mars is right there, right after Pluto, in my 5th house. But it's with Libra, but a relationship. And that's kind of like when I was up on that ladder and she was looking up, it was kind of like me telling her. Because it says you stand above and inform the brute force of physical powers of Mars. And it's kind of me telling her, I'm not looking for no bullshit relationship. And on my natal chart, you can see that. Because in my 5th house of Libra, which is her energy, and it's Mars right there. My Uranus at 3 degrees, the Mars at 3 degrees. So Pluto ruling in the sign of Mars is the mastery of the emotions through the use of the will. It represents transcendence through consciousness of the ego-identified self. This is the true and liberating depth of the self-born here to earth. At some point and your past, your parents or society disapproved of and blocked your Mars desire energy. Needing to be accepted by those significant adults, you had no choice but to repress this event. Pluto is a higher octave of Mars, shows by its house position where these unconscious, repressed energies are trapped. And for you, it's in your money, your value system, and your possessions. And what kind of experiences or activities are necessary to release them, to bring them to consciousness. Well, again, your second house should really be about your money, your possessions, your income, and your value system. It should never be. Your second house should never be about other people's money or shared resources. And with Scorpio there, that's exactly what it's about. So you need to tell that broad to get all up out of your second house. Anybody else with their greedy hands on your cash, tell them to make that move. Because you got great transformation that has to go. But the chart could also be saying that all that is part of his transformation. They said the god of the underworld, Pluto, represents what is buried deep inside of you and what needs to be brought to the light. So this Pluto in your second house is also representing your 8th house and your 12th house. Whatever I said about your 8th house is also going to be connected to your second house. Pluto rules over miners, Becklunkers, geologists, subway workers, psychotherapists, healers, religious leaders, detectives. And on the other side of Pluto, you have organized crime, spies, the socially disaffected, and terrorists. Politicians, representatives of historical forces of power in general, also serve Pluto. Pluto also rules the black people. So any or all of that could be going on in your second house. Pluto's 3 esoteric levels of manifestation are the scorpion, the eagle, and the dove. Representing respectively strength of will, the power of transcendence, and transformation through self-knowledge and redemption. In the physical body, Pluto rules the regenerative faculties of cells and the reproductive organs. So all of that is still going to be connected to your second house. Pluto's symbol is a circle of spirit above the crescent of personality, in turn held aloof and pierced by the cross of matter. This signifies that the spirit concealed within the personality's shadow can be released to shine with the evolution and transformation of the personality. Pluto's rules Scorpio and is the strongest in Scorpio. See, one thing that they're kind of not really saying, but this guy might actually be good with flipping money because it's death and transformation. Like if you see somebody, they be going broke and getting the money back or something, that's kind of what that is. Because with all them new beginnings, that's what's going to happen. You have it 1 minute, don't have it next, got it again, on and off. And a relationship is going to be the same way. Hot and cold, on and off. So whenever Pluto is in Scorpio, you might see earthquakes, catastrophes, transformations, increased entrance in medicine, surgery, advanced healing, psychology, nuclear physics, engineering, genetics, mining, if I didn't say it, psychology, the oil industry, and the occult. Because remember, all that secret knowledge is definitely Scorpio, Pluto, 8th house stuff. So again, your money might be connected to that as well. Because the second house is your money house. Money, possessions, and your value system. Are all second houses. Basically, that which was hidden and deals with the core and nucleus of things was explored and uncovered whenever Pluto was in Scorpio. Powerful healers and transformatory individuals incarnated under this sign. So he might be a powerful healer, and your calling might be actually resurrecting people's money. Because the 8th house is also money, finances, karma, managers, agents. When you see Pluto in Scorpio, you know it's going to be intense personal change and individual transformation. So this may be Pluto and Scorpio may be the first generation to free itself from the sexual emotional traumas and neuroses visited on early generations by their karmic situations. So anything that's in your eighth house could possibly be in your second house. But that could be true, because they're talking about your subconscious mind and all that. I don't know. You got like getting beat down by the world so much, and you say, "Oh, I'm sick, because you're getting your ass kicked." So then your soulmate shows up, and all of a sudden you start getting this healing and shit. Because I definitely been healing a lot better since I got that job. That's some crazy shit. It's almost like watching Star Wars or some shit, and they send one of their people down on a planet, and then a person kind of like forgets their memory or some shit, and then they got to send another teammate down on the planet to help this person remember. Like the Bible says that though, because that's what happened in the Garden of Gethsemane. And remember, that's the name God gave me is Gad. That's Gethsemane and all that, because that's what happened with Jesus. He was starting to forget who he was. If you read the Garden of Gethsemane, Jesus was falling on the ground talking about Abba Father. Now he's the strongest. He's God in the flesh, if you believe that, and he's falling on the ground forgetting who he was. And so God sent the angel down to strengthen him and remember who he was and what he was there to do, and don't tap out now. That shit real. That's why I say if you really listen to me, I be saying real shit, but you just gotta really be listening. Otherwise you don't get it. Cause that's what it seemed like to me. Cause they're saying this matrix, this hologram is so powerful that it could take the most powerful person like God in the flesh and even got him. Cause even if you read John chapter 7, 8, and 9, there were times when Jesus was arguing with the people that it seemed like he was beginning to doubt himself. Say, how you going to be God and doubt yourself? But we going through the same thing because we all melanated. We all got that God 666 in us. Say, if you really knew what 666 was, you would know that's the God particle. That's not evil. It's only evil because these devils that got you in the Matrix have fooled you. And the Matrix is just a hologram and shit. And that's why when you talk about Jesus, what is Jesus talking about? Healing. And basically he told you healed yourself. Your faith healed you. So you really think about this shit, it makes sense. You just got to think about it. Now your third house is ruled by Gemini, but you got Sagittarius there. Sagittarius rules the ninth house. So Gemini is about siblings, younger education, short travel, the mind, communication, the brotherhood or the world around you, the environment around you, which could include family or, anything around you. Short travel. But when you have Sagittarius there, see, Sagittarius is a little bit more mature. So Sagittarius in the third house might not be a bad thing if the person knows when to be mature and when to just have fun. Third house can also deal with publishing. But as you notice, he has 2 retrogrades there. So you see Sagittarius in the third house of Gemini. This could be somewhat an educated person. They may have tried different forms of education as well. All right. So we're going to do a Uranus retrograde first. So usually when you have Sagittarius in the third house, there may be a measure of maturity there. Now, Uranus retrograde is a person whose life is going to be full of surprises. It can bring whims of fancy that amaze and amuse. But it can also bring chaos, either externally in the world or internally to the individual. But I'm saying if you have Uranus retrograde, like stuff that happens in the world could still be connected to you. A person that's normally outgoing might become introverted. A person that is introverted may all of a sudden become outgoing. Extreme variations or opposites in your personality. And that's why they might say, well, he's got a bipolar disorder. But this person is going to have a problem with extremes. It's either hot or cold, no middle grounds, which means they have to learn compromise. And with Saturn retrograde, it's almost the same thing. They have to learn patience. So some people might be too mature or too educated or too cultured that they don't know how to relate back to people that are not. In their previous life, they were probably a rebel or a revolutionary. And they were always fighting the establishments or looking for battles that challenge fairness. So you have to be careful because you might just be the type of person that's just looking for a fight or looking for standing up for yourself when it's really not a fight at all. But don't get me wrong, sometimes it is, but you have to learn how to tell the difference. Any form of extremity, you have to learn how to remove from your person. You have to learn the art of compromise. You can't make everybody do what you want them to do. You have to learn the art of give and take. Might even have to learn compassion, which means being able to understand the plights people are in. Saturn and Pluto are the social planets. Saturn retrograde is a tough taskmaster. So if you have Saturn retrograde on your chart, you may have had or have issues with authority. If you're working on any legal matters such as contracts or deals, they may be delayed. Deadlines may be extended. You may find yourself working on something you thought was already completed. So again, you may have been in conflict with authority in a past life. You may have felt persecuted by your boss or upper management. But you also might be abusing other people. And you also have difficulty in setting limits. You may have a problem with voicing your opinions. And because you don't speak up for yourself, you face more victimization. You also have to learn patience. So, with Uranus retrograde, it means in a past life, you have probably suffered some type of abuse. You may have been the abuser or the abused. So you must learn the lesson of, remember, Saturn teaches lessons, but so does Pluto. You must learn the lesson of patience and to be accountable for yourself. Hold other people responsible as well. You have to learn how to control your life and end any cycle of abuse or victimization. So that's all going on in your third house. And see, it's sad because the third house is the house of like younger children. So you have to be careful of abuse or bullying to children. Because remember, Virgo also deals with children, younger children, and so does the third house. Now, fourth house. See, now when you see Capricorn in the fourth house, see, the fourth house is supposed to be Cancer, ruled by, but it could be the moon there as well, because the moon rules Cancer, and the moon in Cancer is Imon Coeli. That is whatever woman or whoever raised you when you were younger in a motherly capacity. That's Imon Coeli. That person is going to be in your subconscious mind while you're on planet Earth. And that's why you hear Sigmund and Freud talking about the mother. You have Alfred Hitchcock's movie Psycho with the mother. And comedians doing jokes. I believe his name was Richard Lewis. He used to always talk about his mother and do a bit way back in the day about his mother driving him crazy. Now again, you can see how your 4th house is going to be connected to your 12th house because Neptune rules Pisces and Pisces rules the 12th house. That's why I said all this soul stuff and stuff like that, it usually connects to the family. And if you notice your soulmate, a twin flame or twin soul, your twin flame and twin soul is the same. See, everything comes from source. Source is spirit. But in order for the spirit to exist in the material world, it had to create a soul. So everyone is part of that soul family. But what happens is that soul, now that it has created the material world, it has to start to enter the material world. Everybody in that soul is a soul group, a soul tribe, a soul family. But what happens is, let's just say a section is cut out of that soul family, soul group. And that's a soul, but then they cut that soul in half. That becomes your twin soul or your twin flame. And in these last days, more and more people are coming into view with their twin flames, twin souls, and they don't know how to handle it. And even with all the studying in the world and everything else, they still have problems with it. That's your twin flame or twin soul. Now, you might be able to get along real good with your soulmate. The soulmate is just really anybody off that soul. And you say, well, how come some souls are closer than others? Because you have a history with them, like the past lives or lies or what's ever going on. But the fact of the matter is, you could take 2 people, put them on an island, let them know they need each other to survive, and you're leaving, ain't coming back. You're not telling them when you're coming back. In order for you guys to make it without dying out here, you're gonna have to talk to each other and get it together. So they could hate each other when you leave, but once they realize they need each other for survival and get past all that 3rd dimensional bullshit, start talking to each other, being there for each other, getting horny and hot with each other. By the time you come back, you might see a family. They might have a whole family. And ironically, they may tell you, listen, we don't want to go back to your third dimensional bullshit. We got food here. We got a family. There's no hate here. None of this bullshit lie. No fake religions here. Nothing here. We're good. Leave us alone. But when you left them, they were like, fuck you. Why are you leaving me with this motherfucker? I hate this motherfucker. I'm not going to, we'll die. I'm not going to say that, blah, 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 fuck you, blah, blah, blah. So that's why I say you have to learn to, like me, I could advise you, but I've learned to just walk in the spirit and I'm higher. I'm not on 3rd dimensional no more. Wherever I go, you best believe it's going to be higher octaves and higher frequencies and stuff. Now, I do got crazy people around like dysfunctional family and stuff. Now, if they push those chords, I have no trouble going back. But the bottom line, I'd rather be somewhere, anything that's higher dimensional than 3rd dimension. So, the 4th house is teenage to adult education, land and property, real estate, ancestors, family, the heart, vehicles, possibly travel. Now, when Capricorn is in your 4th house, that could mean it's a family business because Capricorn is career and reputation. The ruler of the 10th house. So it could mean your family was career and reputation. Or it could mean your family had an old soul or some old souls in the family. But what happens is, with Neptune retrograde, that's the escapist. And they already call Neptune a deceiver. because Neptune is very idealistic. But unfortunately, the world is not idealistic. The world is realistic. So when you're dealing with Neptune, you go, well, they should. People should. So you're walking around going, people should, and this should work out, and they should help. But reality is they won't. Or they should be fair, but they're not. So that's why they call Neptune a deceiver. Because a lot of people who put trust in Neptune or Pisces, they end up really waking up to a rude awakening. So you got some type of coldness, seriousness going on in your 4th house with Capricorn. And it may have been some type of unreality or even escapism. You may have parents that have put unrealistic restrictions on you or goals for you to achieve. And that kind of messed you up. That's why Lilith feels repressed. Because you have different parents. Like I was just at an event where a mother had her 12-year-old daughter dressed like a Rockette or somebody in Vegas, dancing by herself on the floor with all these people with this short skirt on. So that's Lilith. Because that's the horror part of Lilith. Oh, it's okay for a 12-year-old to dress like that. No problem. Not even worrying about. See, because you have some mothers that try to put themselves through their kids and stuff. Not even worrying about the kid getting kidnapped, the kid getting raped, somebody trying to find out the kid on internet, like on Facebook or shit. You understand? Anything could happen. But the moms ain't thinking about that. She's just thinking about, oh, we're dancing and oh, everybody's gonna be talking. But she's trying to live through her. Just some weird shit. So when you see Lilith, Lilith may do things like that. Just depends on how Lilith operates in that person. But here it's just a measure of seriousness, or maybe somebody had to work a job because they worked a job. They didn't have a whole lot of time for the whole family thing. But either way, it affected that person. That's why I keep telling you, it keeps going back to the 12th house. See, the 4th house is family, but the 12th house has now become home because of Virgo, home and service. And they, like I said, they may even have some type of connections with their home country and all that. It could be the literal home where they live, but it could also be home country. So in the 4th house, you will learn how to be a little bit more motherly, a little bit more nurturing, a little bit more caring, and not so serious, not so Capricornian. Because again, those type of people that come out of that family will probably be rigid if the energy in that family was Capricorn, cold, and rigid. It may have been abusive, may or may not. Okay, 5th house, make it really quick. Whenever you see Pallas retrograde, that asteroid, that's like for children or women or people in need. Pallas retrograde is trying to help people with social concerns. But the 5th house is all about fun, ruled by Leo. But when Pisces is there, Pisces tends to be in an idealistic world. Like Pisces will treat somebody they're in, dating or whatever. They put them on a pedestal. But we just told you, that's how you have a problem. Let me take that back. This is Aquarius in the 5th house, not Pisces. All right, so Aquarius in the 5th house is the non-conventional relationship. So it's not going to be what, say, people consider normal. But it's going to be somewhat of a non-conventional or unnormal relationship. And remember, Aquarius rules your 11th house. And again, it's friends, association, groups. The 11th house ruled by Aquarius. Sixth house, again, is all about service. So really, whatever we said about your 12th house is about your 6th house. And ironically, it's your true north node. Now, in your true north node, the horseshoe, that represents this life. So they're telling you to make sure your home, your health and healing is all about inspiration and Pisces. But ironically, right across is your south node. That's your past life. And it's already been about home, service, probably healing, some spirituality there with Vesta, and some repression with Lilith. So they're giving you a shot to go forward again, but only to work on that stuff. So that's your true north node, is to work on your 12th house. And that's how you reckon with it. Okay, 7th house. So you know this ain't no relationship over here. You got Mars and Aries. So you know, but for some reason, that's your vertex. So this is going to be a significant person you meet, whether it's your soulmate or your twin soul or twin flame. But all y'all going to be doing is arguing and carrying on. Because one or both of you are going to be supporting the I am. See, Aries is I am. But in the 7th house, it's all about relationship. So the person might yearn for a relationship, but he got a long way to go. And I already told you what needs to be done. And I got a feeling his twin soul, or whoever he's going to meet in that house, is just as ready to fight as he is. Now, you're going back to the 8th house. But now you got Taurus there, the ruler of the 2nd house. And see, your money, Taurus, should never be in the 8th house. Because that's other people's money. So you have to stop allowing yourself to be taken advantage of. And remember, Taurus can be very sensual as well. Because the 8th house is definitely a freaky house. And Taurus loves massages and loves to eat and loves sexual healing. And they already told you that this person's probably pretty much attractive. They said that in his 1st house. And then I think they said it again later on. Maybe in his 3rd house. Or whatever house they said it in. Might have said it in his 2nd house. Go into the 9th house, the maturity house. So this person is really good with publishing, even being a teacher, higher education, higher courts, in-laws, long distance, religion, philosophy. So Gemini is going to help him be a good thinker, a good communicator, a good publisher, and he's going to make money off of it because of Jupiter. And if you notice, Jupiter is at 3 degrees 14 minutes, or 314, which is the sign for Pi, which is Libra or Mayat. Now his 10th house is at 0 degree, is medium Coeli, and medium Coeli really connects to the true north node. So once again, this is all about family and some measure of spirituality, because of the medium Coeli connection to the true north node. But we have to be very honest that when you have Cancer in the 10th house, that could again be a family business. But remember, Cancer is teenage to adult education, land and property, real estate. So it looks really good. So this person's soul might be somebody he has some type of a working relationship work, business relationship work, but it's also family. But it's definitely love there and Juno and healing. So this guy said, where will I find my woman? I wait so long. Where my woman? You have to deal with your 10th house of career and reputation, but also has to be connected to family or teenage to adult education or land and property and real estate, your ancestors, or even a heart, your health, or vehicle travel. And in those areas, you're going to find this person who's kind of is your Capricorn love. Say, why are you calling it the Capricorn love? Because Capricorn rules the 10th house. Now going to the 11th house is new moon. So it's a good chance you may always see this guy like with a new friend. Wow, where'd that person come from? Wow, where'd she come from? Wow, when'd you meet him? When'd you meet her? And he's a great communicator with Mercury. And the 11th house of friends, association, and groups. Leo energy. And he's actually there with his sun sign. So this would be a true Leo. Why is he a true Leo? He's got that sun sign right on him, and the sun rules Leo. So he's with his sun sign, his ruler, in the 11th house. So he's probably a leader, but he's good with children, having fun. He's very creative. He understands the ego side of Leo, but he also understands the emotional side of Leo. All right. Now remember, we do have sales going on. You always check the description box to contact me. And a lot of information was given on how to work on things. We covered all the retrogrades. Talked about present life finances, past life, relationships. Juno dictates the kind of person you would be in a relationship with. God bless.